Not everyone will appreciate you. There will be times when you have helped someone, sacrificed your time, given your attention, loyalty, and kindness, only to receive disrespect in return. You may be ignored, taken for granted, underestimated, or treated as if your presence has no value. And naturally, you may feel the desire to respond. You may want to make them regret what they did. You may want to prove your worth. You may want them to experience the same pain they caused you. But Stoicism teaches a different path. You cannot always control how other people treat you. You cannot force someone to respect you. You cannot control their opinions, their behavior, or their character. But there is one thing that will always remain within your control: your response. And that is where your real power begins. Responding does not always mean fighting. It does not always mean raising your voice. It does not always mean finding the perfect words to hurt someone back. Sometimes the strongest response is silence. Sometimes it is a clear boundary. And sometimes the strongest response is simply walking away without carrying hatred with you. Here are 10 Stoic ways to respond to people who do not respect you. Do not respond with the same emotion. When someone disrespects you, your first reaction may be anger. You may feel your heart beating faster. You may immediately think of something cruel to say. You may feel the need to defend yourself, attack them, or prove that you are not someone who can be treated badly. And that reaction is human. Stoicism does not ask you to become emotionless. It does not ask you to pretend that disrespect does not hurt. You are allowed to feel anger. You are allowed to feel disappointed. You are allowed to feel pain. But feeling an emotion and allowing that emotion to control your actions are two very different things. The Stoics understood that the first emotional reaction is often automatic. Something happens, and immediately your mind reacts. But what happens next is a choice. You can pause, you can breathe, you can give yourself a moment before turning your emotions into words or actions. Because if someone insults you and immediately you lose control, then they have gained power over you. They pressed a button, and you reacted exactly as they expected. At that moment, you are no longer acting according to your own values. You are simply reacting to theirs. A Stoic understands the power of the pause. Before responding, ask yourself, will what I am about to say improve this situation, or am I simply trying to release my anger? That question can save you from many regrets. Not every insult deserves an immediate response. Not every provocation deserves your energy. Some people may actually want you to see angry. They may want you to lose control. Your emotional reaction may be exactly what they were hoping for. So when you remain calm, you are not being weak. You are demonstrating something far more powerful. You are showing that your mind cannot be controlled so easily. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that while we cannot control external events, we can control our judgment and response to them. You cannot control what comes out of someone else's mouth, but you can control what comes out of yours. You do not have to win every argument. You do not have to answer every insult. Sometimes, protecting your inner peace is more valuable than winning a pointless battle. So, when someone disrespects you, do not rush to become like them. If they choose chaos, let them have their chaos. You do not have to enter it. The first response of a Stoic is self-control, and often that is the most powerful response of all. 2. Stop seeking appreciation from people who cannot give it. One of the reasons disrespect hurts so deeply is because we expected something different. We think, after everything I have done for you, how can you treat me like this? It is a painful question, but sometimes we must accept an uncomfortable truth. Not everyone has the ability to appreciate what they have. Some people become so accustomed to receiving kindness that they begin to see it as something they are entitled to. Some people are so focused on themselves that they never truly notice the sacrifices of others. And some people only understand the value of something after they lose it. You cannot force someone to see what they refuse to see. This is where Stoicism teaches us to let go of our dependence on other people's approval. If your sense of worth depends entirely on whether someone appreciates you, then your happiness will always be in their hands. Today they praise you and you feel valuable. Tomorrow they criticize you and suddenly you feel worthless. That is not freedom. Your value does not disappear simply because someone fails to recognize it. A diamond does not become a worthless stone just because someone mistakes it for one. The same is true for you. Your effort, your kindness, your character, and your abilities do not lose their value because one person refuses to appreciate them. Stop exhausting yourself trying to earn appreciation from someone who repeatedly shows you that they do not want to give it. This does not mean becoming arrogant. It means stopping the habit of begging for recognition. If you constantly give everything you have just to hear someone finally say, "I appreciate you," you may spend your entire life exhausted. Because sometimes the problem is not that you have done enough. Sometimes the problem is that you're asking for appreciation from someone who simply doesn't know how to give it. A Stoic tries to do what is right because it is right, not because there will be applause afterward. If you help someone, help because you choose to. If you work hard, work because that reflects your character. If you love someone, love sincerely, but do not make their appreciation the foundation of your self-worth. When someone doesn't respect you, don't spend your life trying to change their opinion. Instead, pay attention to what their behavior is telling you. Then direct your energy toward people, work, and goals that are worthy of it. Sometimes the best response is not making them appreciate you. Sometimes the best response is no longer needing their appreciation at all. Number 3, be firm without being cruel. Being stoic does not mean allowing people to treat you however they want. Calmness is not weakness. Patience is not permission. There are moments when you need to speak, but how you speak matters. You do not need to scream to be firm. You do not need to insult someone to show that you have been hurt. You can simply say, "I am not comfortable being treated this way." You can say, "I respect you, but I will not accept this kind of behavior." You can say, "If we're going to talk, then we need to speak to each other with respect." Simple words can carry great power when they come from a calm mind. A truly strong person does not need 1,000 words to establish a boundary. Many people believe that they need to threaten others in order to be taken seriously, but real strength does not always need drama. It comes from consistency. If you say that you will not accept a certain kind of treatment, but you continue accepting it again and again without changing anything, then your boundary becomes nothing more than words. But when you calmly communicate your limits and then act according to them, people begin to understand that you mean what you say. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is within our control. You cannot control whether someone chooses to respect you, but you can control what behavior you continue allowing in your life. You can end the conversation. You can step away. You can reduce someone's access to your time and energy. That is what healthy firmness looks like. Do not feel that you must explain yourself endlessly to someone who has already decided not to understand. Once you have communicated clearly, your actions become more important than another 100 explanations. There is a difference between someone who does not understand and someone who simply does not care. The person who does not understand may benefit from an explanation. The person who does not care will only drain your energy. So, when you feel disrespected, do not remain silent simply because you are afraid of appearing weak, but do not attack simply because you are afraid of appearing powerless. Stand calmly, speak clearly, state your boundaries, and then allow your actions to prove that you respect yourself. Because sometimes the most mature response is not anger. It is calmly saying, "You may treat others this way, but you will not treat me this way." 4. Reduce their access to your life. Not everyone deserves the same level of access to you. Some people deserve your time. Some deserve your trust. Some deserve to know your dreams, your struggles, and your plans. But others only bring chaos the closer they get. One of the biggest mistakes we make when someone disrespects us is continuing to give them the same access to our lives. They ignore you, but you are always available. They disrespect you, but you continue prioritizing them. They only contact you when they need something, but you continue welcoming them with open arms. And then you wonder why nothing changes. Perhaps because they have never experienced the consequences of their behavior. Stoicism teaches us that we do not have to hate someone in order to create distance. You can wish someone well without allowing them unlimited access to your life. You can forgive someone without giving them the same level of trust again. You can remain polite without always being available. Creating distance is not about playing games. It's not about making someone jealous or trying to make them chase you. The purpose is much simpler: to protect your peace. Ask yourself, does this person's presence improve my life, or does it constantly drain my mind and energy? If every conversation leaves you exhausted, if every interaction makes you question your worth, if every encounter fills your mind with anxiety, then perhaps what you need is not another argument. Perhaps you need distance. Distance is not always hostility. Sometimes distance is wisdom. You do not have to touch the same fire repeatedly to prove that it burns. In the same way, you do not need to give unlimited chances to someone who continues showing you the same pattern. Learn to observe behavior. One mistake can be forgiven. A second mistake can be discussed, but a repeated pattern is information. A Stoic does not live only through hope. A Stoic looks at reality. If someone repeatedly shows you that they do not respect you, do not only listen to their apologies, look at whether their behavior changes. Trust is not built through promises. Trust is built through consistency. So, one of the strongest ways to respond to someone who does not respect you is to change their position in your life. No announcement is necessary, no dramatic goodbye, no angry social media posts. Simply stop giving unlimited access to something they never appreciated. Your time is valuable, your mental energy is limited, and your peace should not be sacrificed just to maintain a relationship where only one person is making an effort. Sometimes distance is the clearest message you can give. 5. Stop trying to prove your worth. When people underestimate us, we often feel the need to prove something. We want to become successful so they will regret doubting us. We want to become richer so they will feel ashamed. We want to look happier so they can see what they lost. And perhaps that motivation can push you forward for a while, but if your entire life becomes an attempt to prove something to someone else, then that person still controls the direction of your life. You may have physically moved on, but mentally you are still living for them. Every achievement secretly becomes a message. Every success becomes an attempt to say, "Look at me now." A Stoic would ask, why should I allow the opinion of someone who does not respect me to determine the purpose of my life? You do not need to prove your worth to someone who has already chosen not to see it. True value does not always need an audience. A tree does not stop growing because no one is applauding. The sun does not ask for permission to shine, and you do not need everyone's approval to continue becoming better. Stop asking, how can I make them regret what they did? Start asking, how can I build a better life for myself? That change in perspective is powerful. When you live to make someone regret losing you, they remain at the center of your life. But when you live to improve yourself, you return to the center of your own life. Learn new skills, improve your health, build your career, strengthen your mind, improve your financial situation, create something meaningful. But do not do these things as revenge. Do them because you deserve the life you are building. If one day the people who underestimated you see your progress, that is simply a consequence. It is not the goal. The goal is to become someone who can look at their own life and say, I did not give up on myself. Success built only on revenge will never bring lasting peace, because there will always be someone else who doubts you. There will always be another person with an opinion. If you spend your entire life trying to prove yourself to everyone, when will you finally be free? Become better, not louder. Let your actions speak without constantly explaining yourself. And most importantly, do not allow someone's disrespect to become the main reason you work hard. Let your own life be the reason. Sometimes the greatest response is not showing them who you became. It's growing until you no longer care whether they ever notice. Number 6. Let consequences teach them. Sometimes we feel responsible for making people understand how much they hurt us. We explain, we repeat ourselves, we try to make them understand. We hope that one day they will finally say, now I understand what I did. But not every lesson can be taught through words. Some people only learn through consequences. If someone does not appreciate your time, one day they may lose access to it. If someone constantly takes your help for granted, one day they may have to face their problems without you. If someone repeatedly ignores your presence, they may only understand your value after you are no longer there. And when that happens, you do not need to say, I told you so. You do not need to celebrate their loss. You simply continue living your life. Stoicism teaches us not to become obsessed with judging or punishing other people. We don't know their entire journey. We do not know when or how life will teach them. Your responsibility is not to punish them. Your responsibility is to stop protecting them from the consequences of their own behavior. There's a difference between revenge and allowing consequences to happen. Revenge means actively trying to hurt someone. Consequences means stopping yourself from constantly saving someone from the results of their choices. Perhaps someone only contacts you when they need help, but disappears when you need help. You do not need to attack them. You do not need to create a dramatic confrontation. Simply stop making yourself endlessly available. Let them understand that access to you is not automatic. This can be difficult, especially if you're naturally someone who likes to help other people. You may feel guilty when you begin saying no. But remember, helping someone and allowing someone to use you are not the same thing. Kindness without wisdom can become an invitation for others to take advantage of you. A Stoic tries to have both, a kind heart and a clear mind. So when someone does not respect you, do not spend all your energy thinking about how they should be punished. Let life handle what does not belong to you. Focus on what does. Your responsibility is to establish boundaries. Your responsibility is to protect your character. Your responsibility is to refuse to answer cruelty with more cruelty. If one day they understand what they lost, that's their journey. And if they never understand, you do not have to wait for them. Your peace should not depend on someone else's realization. Sometimes, the strongest response is allowing people to live with the choices they made, while you quietly choose to move forward. Number 7. Do not carry hatred with you. Someone may have treated you badly. They may have underestimated you. They may have betrayed your trust. They may have made you feel as if everything you did was never enough. And yes, that can hurt deeply, but there is something you must be careful about. Do not allow what they did to live inside your mind forever. Hatred often feels like a weapon against another person, but most of the time it hurts the person carrying it. You replay the conversations, you imagine what you should have said, you think about what they did before going to sleep, you imagine them finally experiencing the same pain. Meanwhile, they may be living their life without thinking about you at all. This is why Stoicism places so much importance on controlling your own mind. You may not be able to erase what happened, but you can decide how much space you continue giving it. Forgiveness does not mean saying that what they did was acceptable. Forgiveness also does not mean allowing them back into your life. Forgiveness means refusing to carry a poison that you hoped would hurt someone else. You can say to yourself, "What you did hurt me, but I will not allow your actions to control the rest of my life." That is freedom. Someone may not be able to control you directly, but if you think about them every day, if your mood still depends on what they did, if their actions continue to shape your identity, then part of you is still under their influence. Let go. Not because they deserve your peace, but because you deserve your peace. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on difficult, selfish, and unpleasant people, but he reminded himself that another person's behavior does not have to destroy our own character. If someone chooses to be cruel, that is their choice. If you allow their cruelty to transform you into someone filled with hatred, that becomes yours. You cannot always control the wounds that come into your life, but you can control whether those wounds become your identity. Do not become someone whose entire life is defined by the fact that another person once hurt them. You are bigger than what happened to you. Take the lesson, maintain your boundaries, remember what you need to remember so that you do not repeat the same mistake, but do not carry anger into every new relationship. Do not allow one person who disrespected you to make you distrust everyone. Do not allow one painful experience to close your entire heart. The best response is not becoming colder because you were hurt. The best response is becoming wiser without losing your ability to be kind. Number 8. Use the experience to become stronger. Every painful experience can become one of two things. It can become a wound that you carry forever, or it can become a lesson that makes you wiser. You may not always choose what happens to you, but you can influence what you become afterward. This is one of the central ideas of Stoicism. Pain is not always pleasant. Disrespect still hurts. Betrayal still hurts. Being underestimated can still hurt. Stoicism does not ask you to pretend that suffering is beautiful, but it does teach that even difficult experiences can contain something useful. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Perhaps you learn that you trusted someone too quickly. Perhaps you learn that you ignored warning signs that were already there. Perhaps you learn that your boundaries need to become stronger. Or perhaps you learn that you have been giving too much power to other people's opinions. That lesson can become strength. Instead of only asking, "Why did this happen to me?" try asking, "What can I build after this?" The first question keeps you looking backward. The second begins moving you forward. The person who disrespected you may never have intended to teach you anything, but you can still take wisdom from the experience without giving them credit for the pain they caused.
You do not have to be grateful for the wound, but you can choose to grow after it. Do not allow painful experiences to make you bitter. Allow them to make you more aware, more observant, more careful about who receives your trust, more confident about protecting your boundaries. There's a difference between building walls and building boundaries. Walls prevent everyone from entering. Boundaries allow the right people in while preventing the wrong people from causing unnecessary damage. Use the experience as an opportunity to understand yourself. Why did their behavior hurt you so deeply? Was it only because of what they said? Or did part of you already depend too heavily on their approval? The answer may not always be comfortable, but honesty with yourself is where growth begins. Someone else may have failed to appreciate you. Do not make the same mistake with yourself. Take care of yourself, develop your abilities, improve your life, and allow the experience to become part of your story, not the prison that defines it. Because real strength does not mean never being hurt. Real strength means being hurt, learning from it, and continuing to move forward.
Number 9. Stay silent and walk away when necessary. Not every situation requires a long explanation. Not every relationship can be repaired. Not every person wants to understand. And not every argument is worth winning. Sometimes you have already explained yourself. You have already given chances. You have already tried to understand. You have already been patient. But the same disrespect continues. At some point, silence and distance may become the healthiest decision. Many people are afraid to walk away because they see it as losing. They think, if I leave, then they win. But life is not always a competition with winners and losers. Sometimes walking away simply means refusing to continue playing a game that is destroying your peace. You do not need someone to admit that they were wrong before you choose to leave. You do not need perfect closure from every relationship. Not every story will end with a beautiful conversation. Sometimes closure comes when you accept that not every question will receive an answer. Stoicism teaches us to see reality clearly. If a relationship repeatedly destroys your peace, damages your self-respect, and prevents you from being yourself, perhaps you do not need to fight harder. Perhaps you need the courage to stop. Walking away does not mean hatred. Walking away does not mean punishment. It means recognizing that you cannot force something unhealthy to become healthy simply by continuing to endure it. And if you leave, leave calmly. You do not need to create chaos. You do not need to announce every mistake they made. You do not need to turn them into the villain of every story. Someone can be a painful chapter in your life without becoming the main character of your entire life. Sometimes all you need to say is, "This is no longer good for me," and then you move forward. At first, it may be difficult. You may miss them. You may question your decision. That's normal. But do not confuse missing someone with a reason to return to the same pain. You can miss someone and still understand that they are not good for your life. You can care about someone and still choose to not give them access to you. Love does not always mean staying. Sometimes self-respect and peace require the courage to let go. The person who did not appreciate you may only realize your value after you leave, or perhaps they never will, but that is no longer something you need to control. Your responsibility is not to make them understand. Your responsibility is to stop remaining in places that teach you to disrespect yourself. Sometimes there is no stronger statement than silence, and no clearer response than choosing to walk away.
Become someone who is difficult to shake. In the end, the goal is not to defeat the people who disrespect you. The goal is not to make them afraid. The goal is not even to make them regret what they did. The greater goal is to become someone who does not lose themselves because of the way other people behave. As long as your self-worth depends completely on other people's opinions, you will always be easy to shake. Someone praises you and you feel important. Someone criticizes you and you feel worthless. Someone gives you attention and you feel happy. Someone ignores you and suddenly you question your value. That is an exhausting way to live, because people change, opinions change, relationships change. Someone who supports you today may leave tomorrow. If your peace depends entirely on things that constantly change, then your peace will always be fragile. A Stoic tries to build strength from within. This does not mean you do not need other people. Human beings still need friendship, love, connection, and support. But you should not hand complete control over your identity to someone else. Learn to understand the values you want to live by. Do you want to be honest? Do you want to be responsible? Do you want to remain kind even after being hurt? Do you want to remain calm when life becomes chaotic? When your principles are clear, other people's opinions become less powerful. They may tell you that you are not good enough, but you can look at yourself and ask, am I living according to the values I believe in? If the answer is yes, then you do not need everyone's approval to continue moving forward. Of course, you should still be willing to improve. Stoicism does not mean believing that you are always right. There is a difference between useful criticism and meaningless disrespect. A wise person can listen to both without losing themselves. If the criticism is true, learn from it. If it is false, let it go. Not every opinion deserves a permanent place in your mind. Imagine your mind as your home. You wouldn't allow every stranger to walk inside and rearrange everything. Your mind deserves the same protection. Not every insult deserves to stay there for days. Not every opinion deserves your attention, and not every person has the right to define who you are. The more you practice this, the harder it becomes for others to shake you, not because you become cold, but because you begin to truly know yourself. And when someone disrespects you, you no longer panic. You observe their behavior, you establish your boundaries, you take appropriate action, and then you continue living your life. That is freedom. Not when everyone treats you perfectly, but when another person's poor behavior no longer has the power to destroy your peace or define who you are.
There will always be people who fail to appreciate you. You cannot control who underestimates you. You cannot control who ignores your kindness. You cannot force someone to recognize your value. But you can control something far more important: how you respond. You can choose not to answer anger with anger. You can stop seeking approval from people who cannot appreciate you. You can speak firmly. You can establish boundaries. You can reduce their access to your life. You can stop trying to prove yourself. You can allow consequences to teach them. You can release hatred. And when necessary, you can walk away peacefully. Remember, calmness does not mean weakness. In fact, it takes great strength to control yourself when you have every reason to lose control. The best response is not always a sharp sentence. Sometimes the best response is a better life, a calmer mind, stronger boundaries, and a heart that no longer depends on appreciation from people who never truly saw your value. So stop spending your life trying to make everyone respect you. Focus on becoming someone who respects themselves. Because when you finally understand your own value, other people's opinions may still hurt you from time to time, but they will no longer have the power to decide who you are. The greatest revenge is not making them regret losing you. It is becoming so at peace with yourself that you no longer need their approval.